Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you are as excited as we are as we host our very first Appnovation and Monday.com webinar together. Today, we will talk about the secrets of winning modern day project management workflows. So you'll get a chance to hear about PMO's challenges, trends and solutions, and also get a chance to see Monday.com's winning project management workflow in action. So as for some housekeeping rules, if you cannot hear me, please check your audio settings or refresh your browser. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, pop them into the Q&A box and we'll get through them after the session. And lastly, this session will be recorded and made available after this webinar. So first, I'd like to introduce you to the presenters today. My name is Julie. I am the pre-sales engineer here at Appnovation, specializing in Monday.com, and I'm locally based here in Hong Kong. Along with me, I have Andrew, our managing director here at Appnovation as well. He's waving. And all the way from Israel, we have the Monday.com team. I'd like to introduce you to Ellie, who's the director of channel partnerships, and Shaked, who heads up the global pre-sales and partnerships team.
Hi, everyone.
Pleasure being here.
Hello.
So on our agenda today, we will do an introduction of the Appnovation and Monday.com partnership. We'll go straight into the PMO challenges and solutions, and then we'll get to hear from the Monday.com team on some secrets to winning PMO workflows. We'll answer any Q&As and make sure you stick around until the very end, where we'll have a limited time offer that you don't want to miss. So now I'll just hand it over to Andrew to introduce the Appnovation and Monday.com partnership.
Thanks, Julie. Hi, everyone again. So Andrew here. I look after the Appnovation Hong Kong office. For those who may not have perhaps haven't heard from us before, Appnovation, we are a full-service global digital consultancy, really focusing on the total experience for our customers and, of course, our customers' customers, because customer success is all our success. What do we mean by that is really, when we say full service and total experience, we help our clients all the way from the beginning of digital strategies to design, to the communication and change, to technology in terms of development, as well as then post-launch managed services support 24/7. And of course, for today's topic as well as PMO, we also help a lot of organizations at the enterprise level to deal with their corporate agility and governance. Now, one question I often get asked is, what does Appnovation stand for? Is it just because we do apps? Well, no, it actually stands for Applied Innovation. And we really strive to live and breathe this by providing data-driven solution as well as human-centered design to solve our partners and customers' business problems. Sorry, just on the last slide, please. So globally, we've got about 17 offices with about 400 staff. And then the next one shows a little bit of our credentials. We've been working, well, especially here in Hong Kong in the last 5 years or so, a lot of insurance or large tech companies or banks and many other, even for retail and e-commerce. And then before I pass the ball to Ellie, really congratulations on Monday.com for recently winning the PMO Global Award 2021 for the Agile Project Management Software Tool of the Year. And that really solidified one of our decisions of why we're partnering with Monday.com to help PMO offices to find the right Agile tool to help projects succeed. Ellie, off to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Andrew. First of all, I would like to thank you all for taking the time and joining us, of course, on this amazing webinar, and of course to Appnovation for organizing this for today. I will start by sharing a few words about our amazing journey, as we all feel honored to be part of it. Since launching in 2014, we experienced a hyper growth with over 90% increase in revenue year over year. And with over 900 employees to date, actually, since I think this week, we actually mark an outstanding milestone where we hit our 1,000 plus employees, across the globe. Our headquarters here is based in Tel Aviv with over 650 employees. We have offices across different regions. We have offices in New York, in London, UK, in Australia, and in EMEA as well. As a work OS platform here at Monday.com, we manage everything. You can literally plan, organize, and track all your work and your team works in just one place. We work with all types of companies and teams from every industry, size, and our product, as for today, is available in 11 languages. Even though that our product is super advanced, it's amazingly easy to use. We have the entire department getting the full value out of Monday from hundreds of thousands of people. Next slide, please. Thank you, Julie. Monday.com is super robust product, and our offering to support large account is really endless. We are offering a solution with key verticals such as PMO, sales, marketing, CRM, and on top of that, you can easily extend it to other division and build additional layers based on needs. And we have a super comprehensive offering with over 50 plus integration with the third-party application. This is really providing you the option to take a solution A to Z and plan your growing on full stack solution. Andrew, heading back to you. Sorry, to Shaked.
Sure. I think, and Julie, do you want me to go ahead or maybe back to Andrew?
Yeah, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, great. Sorry, we had a bit of a hiccup just now. No, but thanks, Ellie, for that. So for today's topic, we're talking about PMO, and why I got nominated to this talk is really about my background in scaled agile enterprise agility. So there's 3 key points you can see on the slides here: project silos, too much time being wasted, and real-time data visibility. So often I talk to C-level executives in IT or in business. These topics really comes up all the time, and they're really surrounding our team collaborating seamlessly across the organization. It's good to have high-functional agile project team, but as a collective, we need to have cadence and alignment in order to address bottlenecks in the project dependency. Secondly, is about many experienced PM or PO experience this, right? Ad hoc reporting, spending 2 to 3 days to do slides or multiple steering committees every week, waiting on updates from other teams or waiting for approvals. And lastly, on a data point, it's really about, again, ad hoc reporting, but not just because management wants to see report. Oftentimes it's because sudden change in the market, COVID hit, and things like that, where management indeed needs real-time data to make critical decisions very, very quickly. And that's why we think tools like Monday.com can really provide that capability for enterprise organization to really address these issues. And then I'm going to go into few more slides before we then pass it on to Shaked later on for seeing the tool in action in the demo. But next, I want to just quickly touch on waterfall, agile, and hybrid way of management of projects. Next, please. So I assume that most of us here in the call will actually quite familiar with agile methodology already, and some might already be an expert. Relating to teams working in silos and project waiting on others, as I mentioned before, I often use this dolphin and submarine example to illustrate the difference in waterfall versus agile. In agile, we like a dolphin. We servicing to the top of the ocean, updating frequently. For example, in Scrum, every 2 weeks or so, we have sprint demos and retro to get the feedback from the stakeholder and raise issues to them. As opposed to in waterfall, like a submarine, right? How many times we've gone through projects back in the day where we spent 6 months doing business requirements, perhaps another 6 months of development, another 2 to 3 months for UAT. And by the time we can launch the market, it's already 1 year after we've done the original requirements, and chances are things have progressed or changed. Or even worse, at the UAT stage, your end users are not accepting what you've developed because you haven't spoken to them since perhaps 3-4 months ago in the last update. They might have changed their mind, changed the requirements, and we might need to go back to development. Next slide. So in a more traditional view, you can see here, well, I mean, here's the difference, right? You can see at the top of Waterfall, it's really step by step by step. And in Agile, we're still following the requirements deployment cycle, but we get to see results or MVPs and feedback at every sprint. If we look at it from a risk management perspective, Agile actually raises issue and identify risk at an early stage when it might be slow and easier to resolve, as opposed to in Waterfall, you might even find out the risk and issue really at the testing stage before deployment. Now, in reality, we need to acknowledge that organizations have been working in Waterfall manner for many decades, and don't get me wrong, there are projects and times where Waterfall could be a very good approach. For example, standard constructions, large system or big bang cutovers. Now, also keep in mind that indeed, there is a need for governance, steering committee, and approval process for budget and capacity planning. So oftentimes what we see the enterprise strategically adapt is a hybrid approach. So as a gated approach, as you can see here as a little example, instead of we're trying to get the best of both worlds, right? One, we need to balance between getting approval and working in Agile time box now. So in early stage of a development, we can gather as much requirements and design as much as needed to start the development sprint, where then we follow the Agile practice, delivering work package in sprint cycles. But at each stage, we can have gated decision-making points for management to review and approach before we approach the next stage. While it may not be as fast and flexible as the full Agile, nor is it as quote-unquote safe in terms of the midterm planning in Waterfall, this is one way where we can actually try to get the best of both worlds. And it's oftentimes a good starting point for organizations to look at starting practicing Agile. And the beauty of this is Monday.com actually doesn't, regardless of Waterfall and Agile, they can support organization in both methodology. Very quickly, another topic that comes up often when we come to talking to enterprise PMO nowadays is the concept of project versus product mindset. In some extremes, some people even saying that, in the literature outside, saying project manager or project management is a role of a dying species, right? It will disappear in the future. Why is that? Well, if we look at the project and product definition, right, it's clear that project focus a lot more on results and value. Well, the product mindset focus more on results and value to end customers, more so than project. One of the challenges we talked about just now was about waste. How many of us experienced the hell project, right? Where, for example, at the beginning of a project, we're not very sure what we're trying to deliver or how to approach and to the next phase, or perhaps it's because there's a new project we haven't tackled before. A lot of time waste on meetings, getting ideas, talking to multiple vendors or stakeholders. Next thing you know, the project is due in 3 months' time. Development has to start with whatever requirements they have at that stage. And let's say you're very lucky and you got through the hell project cycle, then your team has been burned out for that last 3 months, and they probably need to take 2 months to recover. That's a huge productivity drop. Next slide, please. So in order to address that bad cycle of productivity drop, a product life cycle of continuous delivery and enhancement of a product of smaller chunks, where, for example, we can launch MVP or beta, and then making changes, improvement in shorter period release times, such as, nowadays, you look at Netflix or AWS, their release are actually constant release. There's no release cycle anymore. So that we can try to deliver the entire, instead of delivering the whole project, let's say within the 1 year at the end of the project period. That way, the workload and stress putting on the working team is much less spiky and spread across the entire product life cycle throughout the years. Yeah, that's fine. And then finally, it's a bit of a good segue to, again, solidify why we're choosing Monday.com as one of our key partners on some of the project management and digital business issues. I just want to quickly touch on the data-driven decision-making point that we also talked about at the beginning. And in other words, actually, what I mean by that is really business insight. Data is king, and we're all moving to the digital world. In that world, we need tools and platforms that can provide real-time data that's connected through API and can be self-services. And Monday can actually support all of that. In a bigger context, this diagram you see on the screen right now is what Innovation think as a basic blueprint for digital business. And Monday.com provides a much needed tool to collaborate, provide transparency, which is fundamental to the success of the business in this rapid changing environment. With that, I think that's a fair amount of ideas that I've rushed through a little bit because I'm really looking forward to Shiket's demo. So Shiket, why don't you show us how does it all look like on Monday.com?
Thank you so much. And I think that was a great intro straight to it. So without further ado, I'll share my screen just so we can get some hands-on. Before we do, just me saying like one more time, it's a big pleasure to be here. You should be able to see my screen any minute now. Can you see it? Great. So we're here to share with you our best practices, and Monday evolved a lot from starting from the bread and butter of PMO to lots of different business areas and what we call today as work operating system, which allows to run every aspect of your business. One of the things we are very proud of is the fact that this is a software which allows you to build software and to be like very agile and fast in the way you do adaptations, as we have all heard the value proposition from Cesar, Eli, and Andrew. The first secret I want to share with you today, and I'll let this video to play like in the background, is the fact that Monday allows us to do faster project planning and approval. One of the things that we've seen across organization is the fact that whenever we're trying to intake projects, okay, there's missing data, right? And so a lot of times we're getting only part of the data. In addition, we find it very hard to connect the motivation, like the KPIs or the OKRs, which basically initiated the entire project, to what's happening in the delivery or to what's happening when employees are basically assigned. So one of the things we're really proud of is the fact that we allow a mechanism which is quite robust to do faster project planning and also better approval of intake projects. That's something I'm going to showcase today hands-on. This will also be the good time to say that if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the chat, and every question is in place. We'll do have time for questions in the end. So the form building block basically allows us to collect data, structure it, make sure that we specify what's required and what's not. And that by doing that, we can basically get the data in real time into the system. Let's quickly see how it works. So what I'm going to do now, I'm basically going to open up my specific PMO solution that I've made for today. So welcome to Monday.com. And what we're seeing here is a project approval board. That's basically a board which allows me to intake requests seamlessly to what we've just talked. That can come from employees, but it can also come from people outside of your organization. The architecture of this board is, I can see that incoming requests are here, requests under consideration. These were the ones that got approved, and these are the ones that got rejected. Everything that we see here, by the way, is available on browser, mobile, and desktop. And one of the things that I really like is the fact that the mobile is also available in offline mode, which allows us to access even when we're on an airplane or with no reception. Let's take a quick look on how filling that form, or how the look and feel of filling a form and submitting an entry looks like. So the moment I type in a new project request named Project Echo, I can fill in the executive summary, the issue, what are the outcomes, what are the recommendations. You could also see that some fields are must to have, required, and some are nice to have. And we also support different types of fields. One of the things we're really proud of is the fact that recently we launched conditional forms, which allows you to prepare different set of questions for different sets of answers. This makes the system like supporting things even like CSAT surveys and so on. The moment I click submit, I get a customized message, which can be customized with your logo, your look and feel. But whoever is replying to that, either if it's internal to your organization or external, is basically creating an entry for you. And you can see here that an entry was automatically created. That's basically Project Echo. And that came into the board. I don't have to do things on the board itself, and the form can be embedded in your signature, in your website, and so on. Okay, so that's a little bit about the form building blocks. Super powerful building block, which allows us basically to do lots of things from CSAT surveys to intake requests, or to basically do some employee needs surveys. Cool. With that further ado, let's proceed to the next secret. The next secret is basically automations that do the work for you. And I'm really excited about it because in the end, we want to automate as much as we can. Like, we hire talented people because we want them to do their job and to bring in their magic. But them doing manual work, or them working for 2 weeks to collect data, which is with 2 weeks lag time, and that's sometimes happening in enterprises, those are the type of things that are basically a waste of time, and we can put or invest the time in other areas. The video in the background will show you some of our automations, but the nice thing about automations is that they can do almost anything for you. Okay, and when I say almost, the solution is custom automations that we'll cover as well. So automations can make sure you stay on top of your task. They can send you notifications. They can auto-assign individual or groups. They can basically take the workflow. Let's say someone submitted a form and a new entry or an item was created, and they can create a series of action. That can come from regulation, or that can come from the way that you do things. But these powerful automations allow you to save precious time and put the money or the investment where you really should to grow and take your business forward. It's important to say that Monday.com is a no-code, low-code environment, which means that automations are fully no-code. You don't have to be tech savvy. You don't have to write even a single line of code. Everything was predefined and prepackaged for you. Let's see some examples of how that basically work. Oh, sorry, I think I stopped sharing. Let me quickly share again. Okay, can you see my screen? Yeah, I got another thumb up, okay. So what we're seeing here is basically an example of what we call a portfolio management, okay? And what we can see is this is a board telling me what are the planned projects that we currently have and what are the active projects which are currently running within my organization. We call this concept high-level board because it tells the story in a high level. It doesn't tell me the bits and bytes of Project Alpha, but it does give me the KPIs or the indicators of where we're at. In the context of automation, we simply need to click on the automate icon, and then we see the automate or the automation center. Again, everything that you see here is no code. So you can basically use one of the predefined recipes that we have, and we define automation in a very simple way. Automation is a combination of a trigger and an action, and there's a many-to-many relationship between them. Just in case you couldn't find something that you wanted, we're also fully publishing or fully allowing you to build, or we're giving you the tools to build custom automations in which you define trigger and you define the action. And that will allow you to get exactly what you need. So basically the software adapts to you and not the other way around as it sometimes happens. Let's take a look on a quick example of a powerful automation. Whenever I assign a project manager, I want to create a new board. Okay, so I take basically a template, work breakdown structure, something you already have, and I can even place it in a specific area within the account. The PM itself will get a message which is fully customized. You've been assigned to the project X, click here to access your new board. So we can see that automation can do things even like cross boards or even initiate the creation of new boards and make sure that everyone stays up to date. Let's take another example. Whenever we're changing or whenever we are basically changing the status of a progress, we keep changing the status so it can be moved and well architected through the board. That allows me that nice simple view, knowing what's active, what completed, and then I can initiate the CSAT survey as an example and make sure that I know what was planned. So that's a little bit about our second secret of automations. And here, I think the KPI or the metric for success would be like how much time we can save. And there is the total economic impact report of Forrester conducted on top of Monday.com, which can basically showcase and show like how this translates to numbers. Having said that, let's proceed. So secret number 3, after we talked about the form building blocks and automation, that basically talked about the fact that we have a simple single source of truth. So Monday wants to be basically, or is playing in the area of which we call work operating system. That's an area that Gartner estimated in $50 billion, and that's a rising star in terms of how organization basically operates. The main idea in being a simple and a single source of truth is that we want to be the connective tissue that basically brings in data from multiple systems, okay? And we want to show it and present it in real time, not near real time and not close to real time, like no lag. And that's what we're trying to do. Like all of our integrations are basically working with no lag time. They're not working on a daily, weekly, monthly. They're basically pushing and sending data as we work with the system, because the business can't wait, right? The business can't wait to the end of the business day. If someone initiated the workflow and something needs to happen, it needs to happen as fast, okay, as possible. Let's see how a simple single source of truth can basically be translated or looked through the dashboard building blocks. So what we basically can see here, and I'll use TV emoji so we can see a bit better. Okay, so this can be presented in basically in your TV screen, in your office, broadcasted into your web portal, but that basically tells me the story of one individual project. That tells me where we are at in terms of budget, consumption, the costs, how things evolved over time, okay? So it tells me a lot about Project Alpha, and it basically gives me the zoom in that I need. Everything that I'm seeing here is something that will get updated in real time, which means that if an individual will report a risk, or if an individual will change a status, or if an individual will report an expense, I will see it here, okay? So any change to the plan effort versus actual effort, again, I'm consuming it as I wish, and that is all real-time data being reflected. So the macro to micro, or the capability of individuals and employees basically to notify on things that are happening, becomes stronger and stronger. What I like about dashboards is basically the fact that they have the capability to do many-to-many relationship. So if previously we talked about the basically Project Alpha, now we can take on or take an entire portfolio or an entire basically program, or so multiple all at once. Like we can have dozens of projects connected in a plug and play approach, and we can see them all. So this is the portfolio dashboard, and you can see that the numbers and the metrics have changed. Now I'm overseeing from a bird's view, from a 360, how multiple projects in my portfolio behave. So I can see the budget, I can see how the costs basically split between transportation, legal, labor, and so on. I can see the effort. So all of these are called widgets, and they all work in real time. That's the way that Monday was architected, and that's why we think the value proposition here is huge. I can customize things like Gantt and timelines, but this entire widget, let's take on-time deviation as an example, is overseeing specific individuals like Charles, Amit, or Eyal, and see how much tasks they've been doing, how much were done on time, and how much time were done late. And that allows me, as the head of PMO, as an example, to take or to get in lots of insights, and also like takes a lot of action. So I think being insightful and actionable, that's the main message here about real-time dashboards. I'll pause here just to invite everyone once again to ask any question that you might have in the chat. I hope it's not too fast and every question is in place. Whatever question we won't be able to take throughout the session, we will follow up after, and we will make sure to basically ensure that each and every question will get answered. Cool. So we talked about 3 secrets already. The fourth one is basically comes from the fact that we worked with like multiple project managers around the world, and that basically helped us to build the monday.com offering bottom up. Okay, so we worked with lots of project managers around the world, different needs, different regulations, different business cases. And then we figure out that in the end, a project manager is overseeing schedule, cost, scope, and execution. Okay, so these are the type of things that moves the needle or moves the KPI of what we currently do. And for that, we created specific widgets that will allow you to get exactly as you want, all the information that you want in real time, okay? So it's not only about the managers getting what they need, it's also the project managers able to get the structure and the slice and dice that they need to be successful. And I think this is the key in terms of PMO, because we want basically to have this system to be very lovable, and we want to get high adoption. And that's why we want to make sure that the adoption rates are very high. And for that, we have like different things that we can show you here. The first thing that project managers really like is this widget that you see right here. This is called the Workload Widget. This widget basically allows me to know who's doing what in the week of, let's say, the 42 22 week of this year. Shaked was working on a specific task. That's activity 26. I can drill down. I would say that one of the cruise companies in the US is using it to staff their contact center. So it's very lovable. And I think what makes this widget lovable is the fact that it's not only per individual, it's also per group. For example, your entire PMO or your entire Agile team. So that can basically be the trigger for recruitment and these types of things. It can also show you the backlog of tasks that are about to come. So you can even do the day-to-day, I would say, assignment. Like I can basically open up a task, and with a click of a button, I can basically assign my colleague and get him to see like that he just received a new task. So the concept of this widget is that based on a person column or a people column that can be either an individual or a team, we can see who's doing what in real time. We can allocate plug and play tasks, okay? And the moment it's red, it's over capacity, and the moment it's blue, it's just on spot. So that allows you to do the exact resource utilization. And if you do have methodologies like full-time employees and part-time employees, that is also something we support within this widget. Cool. Let me go into our next and final secret. Our next and final secret is basically the fact that we want to be as actionable and insightful as we can, but visualizing and surfacing the insight is one thing, and acting upon is another thing. And I think this is like a very key thing. I think there's a lot of visualization or nice UI-based softwares out there, but I think the question is, what do you do with that information? Or how quickly you can do a change that will create an impact. Let's take a simple example. Let's say an employee recognized the risk that might have a penalty of regulation in $1 million, okay? That's not something that can wait, right? So you want to see it, but you also want to be able to close it within a specific time frame and to produce an audit log and so on. So for these specific things, I think what's important to say here is that the views and the dashboards and everything that we've seen are all clickable. So with a click of a button, I can basically zoom in into where I want to do, and I can get in context communication to start and remediate or build or build some kind of a plan of action that will basically allow me to get exactly what I need. This will be our last demonstration for today. So if we take a look, for example, on, let's say, the risk management that I have right here, right in front of me. So this is something that the risk management officer, compliance officer can open on a daily basis. Okay, so this is basically being surfaced and pushed to his desk from what employees report. But the nice thing is that whenever he creates himself its own dashboard, okay, he can basically duplicate the one that is being used by the project manager or alternatively by the portfolio manager. And with a click of a button, as you can see here, okay, he can basically choose to swap or add any filters that he's like. Okay, for example, this is a good example of one click in which I want to see exactly what Shaked was doing. So the level of, I would say, capabilities to go and to do that slice and dice of data, or the capability to do that smart filtering so everyone can consume the data as they wish, that would be great. Maybe one last example. So I just clicked on Amit, or I'll click on, maybe we'll find something else. The moment I click on, here it is. Okay, so I want to communicate with Amit, and I see that there are some future tasks that he didn't report on. So I can basically say, Amit, why this is taking so long. Very similar to social media concept. Amit will be tagged and will be notified in the notification center. I can see who've seen it. You see Amit already seen it. I can like, reply, and everything that we've done throughout this item will basically be kept from day one, so we can know or get the exact in-context communication. And I think that's it. I can talk anywhere between 20 minutes to 2 days, but I hope you find it exciting as I do. And Julie, back to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Just give me a quick second. I'm just going to share my screen. Sorry, guys.
Julie, until you share your screen, I think we have a question to Shaked. How many projects can be presented in the dashboard?
Sure, that's an excellent question. The current number is 70, okay? But that is something we're constantly increasing. We also need to make sure that the numbers or the figures that we can see are something we can act upon, right? We talked about being actionable and insightful. We've realized that showing more than 70 is not something you can basically drill down or act upon. And I think that's the number. But having said that, the plan is to have hundreds by the end of this year. So we can give you the freedom to choose how you want to showcase that. In addition, we can aggregate multiple. So that basically depends on the architecture. So lots of good things here, and the performance remains good. So no worries on that.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And thank you again, Shaket, for an amazing demo. That was super useful. I actually learned something new myself. I hope everyone did too. And so now we're just going to move over to a quick Q&A session. I know there was a few questions earlier on. So David asked if these slides would be made available after the webinar. Yes, this will be available after the webinar, along with the recording as well. And then the next question was from Chris. So he says, I'm familiar with Monday. My company is based in Hong Kong and we have a small regional presence. How can Monday help us with the onboarding and training and ongoing support, etc.? Andrew, would you like to help answer this?
Yeah, sure. So actually, I myself and Julie and also our team are based in Hong Kong. We've got about 50 staff here locally. We've also got a Singapore office and also China open up as well. And we work closely with the Monday team, so we can definitely help you provide onboarding services as well as ongoing support services for you as well. Thanks, Chris. So please make sure you fill out the feedback form so that we can get in touch with you afterwards.
Perfect. Any more questions? I know that Sue asked how many projects can be presented in a dashboard, which we have gone over already.
70, correct?
70.
Correct.
Perfect. All right. So just before we wrap up, thank you everyone for the great questions. If you fill out the form, which will be in the chat, or if you scan the QR code shown on the screen, you will receive a free 30-minute consultation with Appnovation. We're also offering a limited time offer for new signups or an upgrade to the enterprise plan, whether that be 25, 50, or 100 plus users shown on the screen on there. So please fill out the form and we'll get in touch with you as soon as possible. So I'll just leave that on for a little bit. And yeah, just to finish up, I hope everyone was able to take something away from this webinar, whether that's being able to relate to any of the PMO challenges we spoke about, understand some of the trends and solutions, as well as taking away some tips and tricks that Shaket showed to us earlier. And hopefully you're able to bring that to your Monday.com project management workflow. Also, yeah, last reminder that the slides and recordings will be available after this webinar, so you will have full access to it. And that wraps us up. So thank you everyone for attending to this webinar, and I hope you guys have a good rest of the afternoon.